we learn immigration is the #1 issue in this country.
Only because that's the only thing being told and spoken about.
Okay. So this is what's interesting, Michelle. This is the left narrative. We're all
no, it's not. I'm not the left. Why'd you call me the left?
Can I finish?
300,000 refugees have come into Britain in just the last few years, and yet somehow we're still being told we're not a humanitarian country, and honestly, what planet are these people living on?
300,000 refugees in recent years, and you're sat there saying that we are not humanitarian. What planet are you living on?
Because you've got to see this exchange where Matt Goodwin calmly and methodically dismantled political commentator Fahima Mohammed live on air. No shouting, no chaos. Just steady, composed answers that cut straight through the noise as Fahima came in swinging, determined to challenge every anti.
Well, I think, the problem here is Labour used to be the party of the people. Now it seems to be the party of the professionals, and it's copying reform. Instead of leading, it's chasing, and it's mimicking things that people did not vote for them in the first place. And I think that is the real problem. And also,
immigration stance, but Matt stood firm and refused to back down, pointing out that Labour, once the party of ordinary people, now looks like the party of professionals, parroting ideas from Reform UK instead of leading with its own vision, chasing votes with mimicry while ignoring what the public actually wants and failing across multiple fronts.
It's not just about the fact that they're not actually clamping down on immigration. There are so many other issues that needs to be raised, which the Labour Party stands for, like welfare, education, the NHS. We've got so much shortage of skilled people to fill in even the NHS with over 100,000 vacancies. And, expenses are still high. They're targeting
not just immigration but welfare, education, and the NHS, where we've got over 100,000 unfilled jobs yet costs keep climbing, and instead of solutions the political class targets vulnerable groups as a distraction. And while Fahima passionately claimed Labour echoing reform is catastrophic and waved away immigration like it was background noise, that's where she lost the room, because the issue isn't tone but the reality that Britain's borders are wide open and ordinary people feel the impact.
Very vulnerable people at the moment, and it's not the way to go across by just basically coming off the back of the by-elections of what they think that the people want, which is just reform.
Fahima.
And before we dive deeper, let me quickly say, if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to like the video, share it around, and subscribe, because it really helps us bring you more content like this. Now back to it, because two things stood out this week. First, immigration is now officially the top issue in Britain, not just because the media won't shut up about it as Fahima suggested, but because the record numbers pouring in make it unavoidable.
And this is the typical left-wing
narrative, pretending we're only talking about immigration because others are. When in reality the scale is undeniable, with record highs that the government responds to with empty promises, finger-pointing, and Rishi Sunak wheeling out the same week, deport them, line as if that alone fixes a crisis years in the making, leaving the public exhausted with the theater. And second, polls now show 85% of Britons want net migration cut below 100,000, and nearly half want it at zero. Yet according to Fahima, Labour speaking up for these voters is somehow...
We're all talking about immigration, and that's the reason...
We're not all talking about immigration.
Can I finish? We're all talking about immigration. That's why immigration is the #1 issue, as opposed to it's nothing to do with the record numbers of people who are actually coming into our country.
Fringe, which Matt rightly exposed as nonsense, because the majority of this country wants less immigration, and that's not radical, it's common sense. But Fahima pushed back, accusing Matt of pretending to speak for everyone and insisting immigration isn't the only issue, claiming critics obsess over it and saying Britain's bigger problems won't vanish if borders are controlled. Yet here's where she twisted it, because Matt never said immigration is the only problem. He argued it is the root.
And the second thing we've learned this week is 85% of Brits want net migration reduced below 100,000, and nearly half the country want zero migration. And you're acting as though Keir Starmer is kind of speaking up for this mad extreme fringe. Most people in this country want less immigration. It's not that hard.
Well, I'm sorry. Now I really do feel that you are basically trying to talk.
Problem feeding into everything else, from overcrowded schools to NHS strain to the housing crisis, and he dropped the bombshell number, £15 billion over the next decade, £5 million a day on hotels for asylum seekers, money that could build 10 new hospitals for British people but instead is bleeding the Treasury dry. And when Westminster needs to plug the hole, guess whose pockets they raid? Ours, the taxpayers. And while Fahima tried to argue migrants aren't to blame but politicians are, she downplayed the consequences on working-class communities who live with rising crime, grooming gangs, and shortages, while elites preach compassion from safe bubbles, insisting most asylum seekers want to work but are trapped in slow systems, that not all migrants are criminals and many deserve refuge, which sounds noble on paper, but here's the truth. While activists lecture us about safe havens, ordinary people see the reality in their towns, their police reports, their shrinking housing options, and it's easy to argue ideals when you're not the one paying the price. And at one point Fahima pointed her finger at Matt and urged that Britain must live up to humanitarian values rooted in fairness, refuge, and even Christian ethics, accusing him of hostility and exaggeration and defending Britain's intake of 300,000 refugees as proof of generosity. But Matt cut through the grandstanding with facts, reminding her that while refugees deserve compassion, British taxpayers deserve fairness, because billions of their pounds are being funneled into private housing contracts that outbid locals in their own markets. And where's the fairness in that, especially with Labour offering no clear migration policy and brushing off the crisis like an afterthought? And although Fahima pleaded that not every migrant is a criminal and many deserve refuge, Matt showed that immigration isn't just another issue but the issue driving all others. And by the end, while Fahima was visibly frustrated, Matt's calm, unwavering delivery left the audience in stunned silence because he didn't just hold his ground, he dominated, proving that compassion without accountability isn't policy, it's chaos. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe because it takes just a second but makes a massive difference to our channel. Thanks for the support, and let's keep holding the powerful accountable.